All right, so I post a lot of videos on my YouTube channel talking about market dynamics, ads, very boring stuff. I haven't actually made many videos talking about sales. Sales is super important, okay? So today, you guys got a special treat. I'm sitting down with two very experienced high-ticket closers that both handle over 250K, $250,000 plus per month in just pure sales, pure volume. Okay, these guys are taking, I've seen their calendars, like 10 calls a day. A lot of you guys are like, oh, I take 2 calls a day. I feel like I'm super busy. Imagine 10 calls a day, okay? So that's pretty much, we're gonna be having a chat with them. We're gonna be diving into a little bit of sales wisdom for you guys. So stay tuned, it's gonna be a great video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here at the villa with
Sham, Samim.
These two guys are probably some of the most experienced gentlemen I know when it comes to sales, closing high-ticket packages, getting that yes from people when it comes to sales calls, which a lot of you guys who watch my, maybe my content maybe struggle with. So I don't usually talk about sales that much on my page. I talk about a bunch of other things like how to run ads, selecting markets, a bunch of boring stuff. But today we're going to get to the brass tacks of sales and and hopefully learn something from these two really interesting guys. So I just want to start this off, and I want to talk about the coaching space specifically, because I know you guys sell, coaching at the end of the day as well. What would you guys say is the best piece of advice that you guys have when it comes to getting that yes from people and getting commitment for closing high ticket packages with coaching? I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I can start here. I think the biggest thing we have to realize when you're selling coaching is you're selling an outcome, a transformation. You're not selling 6 one-on-one calls. You're selling what those one-on-one calls are going to lead to for that person, right? So fitness people, for example, like if you're charging $5,000 for someone, they're not paying you for a one-on-one time. They're paying you because they want to look different 6 months from now. Mm-hmm. So you have to convey that on your sales call. Like a lot of times people pitch with the idea of deliverables, like calls. I'll give you calls. I'll give you course. I'll give you this. I'll make a workout plan. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the outcome that the client gets. So you need to sell them that the outcome is going to be achievable through your process. Does that make sense?
And what would you say is the biggest piece of advice in order to convey that?
I think analogies do a really, really good job. Like I feel like analogies are super underrated in sales because a lot of times normie brains, it's hard to comprehend like actual. Yeah, it's hard to comprehend like actual stuff.
100%.
But when you kind of simplify it down for them, something that they can relate to, it makes life a lot easier. Like I'll give you an example. Like sometimes I get like an objection where it's like, you know what, like I'll do this when I have money. Yeah. Right? And then a very simple brain dead analogy is, would you go to the doctor after your hand is healed? Let's say you break your hand. Would you go to the doctor after it's already healed, or would you go to the doctor when it's broken?
100%.
Right? And they say, oh, of course I would go when it's broken. So that's the exact reason why you're looking to start a business, because you don't have money. That's the problem we're looking to solve. Mm-hmm. Right? And it kind of just helps them reframe their own brain. And that helps a lot.
I see. And what would you say when it comes to coaching? I'm going to fire the question right back at you. Is your one biggest piece of advice?
I would just say, like, just understanding that they're on your call for a reason. Like, they came to you, right? They have a problem that you can fix, right? So the biggest thing for me is, like, just helping them understand where they are right now, like their actual situation, like putting it into perspective for them. Like, they're obviously not in the best situation if they're on a sales call. They obviously want to change their life and build that gap between where they are right now and where they actually want to be, and just make it sound like they really need you, right? And if you do that, like, again, like Sham's right, like, you're selling a desired outcome. Like, you're not selling a program, you're not selling coaching, you're not selling like calls or videos. You're selling their future, right? So you have to sell their future. And I would just say, like, making them understand that their current situation isn't the best, and just being real with them. And man, that's basically what I would say to that.
I wanna add something to that. I think another very underrated part of sales is just confidence. So just to give you guys some context, Samim barely has any sales training. When I started, I barely had any sales training, but we both ended up being top performers very, very quickly. Not because we have the best word tracks, or we have the best objection handling skills, or we have the best discoveries. It's because we speak with conviction and we have confidence in ourselves. And I feel like that's like the underlying way to win in sales. Like, truly believe in yourself, because that belief rubs off on other people.
Yeah, let me answer that, actually. So basically, guys, just for context, I've been in sales for like 8 months now, 7-8 months. I started as an appointment setter, straight away becoming like top performer on my team. And
team too.
Yeah, it's a very big team of like 50 people. And then I started transitioning into closing. And I was in one of the most competitive teams in the info space. Basically, someone like myself who has no sales experience, I came up against people who like did so many courses with like Jeremy Miner, all that stuff. Yep. And I smashed them all. and the only thing that separates me from them is just these people. They all think like they all like act like robots, bro. Like they get on calls, they're like trying to say these like, crazy word tracks. It doesn't make a difference as long as you have confidence in what you say, you speak with conviction, and you actually understand that like you're like you frame yourself above them, right? You can't frame yourself below them. You have to frame yourself above people when they're getting on your call, and just speak with the utmost confidence, man. Like it's just crazy. If you like review one of our calls, like you're just like it's just vibes. Yeah. Like I don't have any framework, or I mean I do follow like a check like a framework at the end of the day, but I don't have no scripts, nothing like that. Just off the dome. Just have a genuine conversation with the person and just help them.
Let me ask you a question, and I guess this is for both of you, whoever wants to answer this. Do you guys feel like following a script there's a time and place for that, or do you think that's useful in your lives, like following a script? Would that be something that you'd recommend or no?
I'll take this first. Yeah, for me, I think scripts are good in terms of, I think frameworks are better than scripts. Like if you have like a word by word script, it'll never work because every sales conversation is completely different. It's just completely different,
like
right?
Trying to script a date.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's actually a perfect analogy. It's like trying to script a date. You can't do that. So I would say a framework is much more helpful for beginners to understand, okay, where am I taking this conversation? Because there has to be a path you're following to get your outcome. If you're just chatting, there's no sale that's going to happen. You have to follow a path, a logical path that leads them to thinking, wow, that's the solution I want. And that's our framework.
I'll actually answer that question. Because like I was initially like told to follow a script, and like the one thing I'll say is like if you're following a script and someone says something that has nothing to do with the script, like what do you do then? Right? Like if you're following a script, you're screwed if you don't know what to say. Exactly. So it's just I would say script selling is not the way to go at all. I would say have a framework, and just just follow a framework. I wouldn't say just follow any sort of script, because like again, if someone says something that's like not part of the script, and you have nothing to say, it's kind of
you can get caught in like
a
little bit of a pickle.
Yeah,
100%. You said something earlier about frame, about like you have to kind of have that confidence and conviction in yourself. What I've found, this is just kind of a personal observation, is people will never buy from you if they view themselves as being higher than you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is kind of the sad reality, because a lot of people, when it comes to sales, especially me when I was starting out, I tried to like lower myself, be humble. And yes, there is a way to do it. And I don't want to confuse humbleness with frame, but I would kind of lower myself and my status would be completely diminished.
Yeah.
Right? And people are not going to buy from you if you don't have a level of perceived value.
100%.
Right?
And I think that's the word. The perceived value is the word. Like when you're playing humble, or you're playing Mr. Nice Guy, you're not making the prospect want your product more. If anything, you're making them want it less. It's like going on a date. I feel like sales and dating is like very, very related. It's like going on a date and just instantly simping for a girl the first second you see her
100%.
and just doing that whole night. Like, do you think that's going to increase your level of attraction with a girl? Probably not.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. You have to kind of position yourself as being, and this is the difference. It's like there's a difference between absolute value and perceived value, right? And this is the thing that a lot of my clients get wrong. It's like when you're starting out, you have zero absolute value.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you're starting out, you have no case studies, no testimonials, no one knows who you are, and frankly, no one really gives a shit.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And this is what I tell a lot of my new clients. It's like you're starting out, one of the most important things you have to focus on is learning these sales skills
100%.
so that you can increase your perceived value.
100%.
Right? So yeah, do you guys have any tips or tricks in terms of like perceived value, if you, like simple nuances or things that you can add on that would potentially help a viewer who's getting into the coaching space in terms of increasing their perceived value, status, etc.?
Absolutely. I think especially for fitness, it's the perceived value is you, right? Like if you're
used to sell fitness.
yes, exactly. Yes. So like the perceived value in fitness is you. So if you've had an awesome transformation, that is your case study. Like you already know your process is proven to work if you've done it for yourself, right? And like every prospect that's jumping on the phone with you wants your physique. Like just think, if you're selling personal training online, every prospect that's booking a call with you wants your physique.
Yeah.
That's your perceived value right there. 100%. 100%. Like if you look at one of the biggest fitness brands, Kino Body, like why do you think he's so big? Right? He's not the most jacked guy, he's not a bodybuilder, but it's because the perceived value of his lifestyle associated with his fitness program, with the physique that he has, that sets him apart from most fitness coaches.
Very true. 100%. 100%. Do you have something to add on in terms of perceived value?
Yeah, I would just say the exact same thing. Like, if your physique isn't optimized, like if you like, it's obviously to do with fitness. If you're selling a coaching program and like, your physique isn't like, something to be like really proud of, like again, like how are you gonna expect someone to buy off you if you're not like, in insane shape, right? It's just they look at you, they want to be you, they want to have the same transformations. You just like that's what it says. When it comes to fitness, obviously, there's different things for different.
It's kind of the exact same thing for you guys as well, because when you guys are jumping on calls, you're positioning yourself as being a veteran. You've been in the game, you've scaled your online store already, and now you're actually providing that same level of transformation, right? 100%. You're already.
We're doing what we sell. Like we sell people on freedom, like making more money, like having doing whatever they want to do, and this is exactly what we do. Like I live in Dubai, I'm in Arizona right now. I can leave whenever I want to do. I'm making money online. Like I'm selling that to people, right? Even though I didn't do it in e-commerce, I didn't do a different vehicle, but I know it's true. Like I know it's an actual vehicle. I know this stuff is real, and some people they're like getting on calls, they're skeptical, but they see my life and they see what I've done, and it's true. So I'm living proof of exactly what they want to do, right? So that's how I frame myself.
Let me ask you a question. How do you frame that without coming off as qualifying?
So again,
how do you frame that without coming off as you qualifying to them about like, oh, my life is so cool, like qualifying?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like listen, right? Like I'm taking a call, right? I can take a call on this little chair right here with the background and the view, and they'll just like ask me a question and I'll answer it. I'm not gonna get on a call and be like, hey guys, I do this XX. No, like
you're not pulling all your
no, I'm not.
Showing them, hey, look
I'm
at
not.
Stripe?
Nah. But I know someone who does that though. But no.
Yeah, fucking call with me and you'll find out.
No. But like, yeah, it's just having that aura. I guess it's aura, man. It is. Like you have to have some aura, like, like for me and you, like, dude, we're like proof that this whole BS about like sales training and like word tracks, it's not the case. If you have like some people buy off people, man. People. At the end of the day, if someone will buy from you, right? Like, I don't know how to explain that well, but like, at the end of the day, like, even if your product isn't like the most valuable thing ever, if someone like actually like respects you, right, they'll buy off you, right? So I would always say people buy off people, and just having that aura and that confidence is just what's gonna separate you from being an average closer to being a fucking good closer.
I think aura is how you're actually gonna separate yourself in the market. Because if you're just another fitness trainer, like, what's gonna separate you? Right, and that's like a big question that I feel like a lot of people starting new businesses have is like, what separates me? Like, why would 100%. Someone not just go with someone who's already experienced? 100%. But the key thing people forget is like, people don't just go for the most experienced people. Yeah. People go for people who believe that they can get them results and the results that they want. So as long as you can show someone that I can get you the result that you want following my process, and they like you, they'd rather go with you than someone else. And we see it all the time.
Yeah. But question, how much of that decision for these prospects is logical in the sense of like, oh, you've done this for other people, I see this logically working, versus emotional?
I think you completely sell on emotion, and then you make the prospect justify with logic. Yeah. Right? Like everyone gets sold on emotion, right?
100%. Actually, not everyone, I don't think.
I think this is my belief. I think everyone gets sold on emotion, but everyone also justifies it with logic. Yeah, true. Right? That's what I mean. It's like a two-part process. It can't just be emotion. Because there's people who have logic and brain, right? So you have to appeal to that side of the brain as well. Yeah, you have to approach with that side of the brain as well. But as long as you can show your value and emotionally figure out what their pain point is, and then logically show them why your solution solves that problem, that's the perfect mixture.
Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I actually do. I have nothing else to add on that. I think it's true. Like people do buy off emotion, but like what I'll say is like, you will come across a prospect who like just value.
Yep.
Value is like, if you can like sell them a good product, again, selling like the product that you sell is like very, very important. I think it is the most important thing. If your product is shit, right, and you get them all emotional based thinking, and then you just pitch them your product and it's shit, 9 times out of 10 they're not gonna buy.
Even if you do sell them.
Exactly.
Yeah, even if you do sell them, that's how you get chargebacks. That's how you get a bad business experience. That's how you get a bad reputation. I think product is the single most important part of the business. Not at the start, because at the start, like, you're just making the product. So you should just focus on selling, getting clients in, getting case studies, making your product better. And I feel like it's kind of like a paradox, right? You can't have a good product without selling first. You gotta sell. You gotta get clients. You gotta see what's going wrong, what's going right, what I can make better. Ask them for feedback. That's how you make your product better. But then I feel like at the same time, people also get stuck on the fact that, I don't want to sell until my product's perfect. I think that's also really bad. You shouldn't be doing that. Because then your product's never going to be perfect, because you have to sell for it to become perfect.
100%. Yeah, a lot of my clients, they, it's trying to make all the nuances perfect, right? And that's not obviously the way to do it. You're supposed to go to the market, sell the shit out of it, see what happens. If people resonate with it, they resonate with it, and if they don't, that's even more feedback as well to then go make a shift and an adjustment, right? So I want to touch on the downfalls. Okay, like what would you guys say? Would you say, like, in terms of pitfalls that most people new sales reps, new people who are trying to sell a solution come across. And like I kind of want to frame the question as like a red pill. Like what's the red pill, right, of kind of sales? Because so many of my clients, like I was just talking with the client, to give you an example. He's like, oh, I was like, how many calls have you been on this week? He's like, oh, I've been on 5 calls this week. I'm like, cool. I'm like, were there any sales? He's like, no, there weren't any sales. They all told me they wanted to think about it, right? That's obviously like an example, right? But like, what would you guys say like would be the biggest pitfalls of new people pitching a solution and whatnot?
Again, I think it goes back to the lack of confidence, right? Like if you've taken 5 calls, first of all, it's nowhere enough volume to see success. Like if you expect you to become a billionaire after taking 5 calls, you should just quit business now because it's just not for you.
Very true.
It's just not for you. But if you're willing to work past that, if you get 5 think abouts in a row and you go back and listen to all the calls and figure out, okay, what went wrong here? What went right here? Okay, this is what I can do to fix this. Let me call this guy back up. Let me give him this value. Like that's where you have to like put in effort. And I think the red pill is like effort. None of this is easy. None of this is get rich quick. None of this is like make money in 20 seconds. It takes effort. But that's what separates you from everyone else who's not willing to put in the effort.
What would you say on that?
I would say the exact same thing. Like, sales is a number game at the end of the day, right? Like, the more calls you take, the more chance you have at closing deals, right? And obviously, if you have 5 calls in a week, that's pretty limited, right? So, just for context, like, so obviously we're in high ticket sales, so like we sell an info product, but I live in Dubai, right? My availability, my time zone is like from 5 p.m. Dubai time to 5 a.m. Dubai time, right? So I work literally the night shift. It's like 9 a.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern. But that's just because I know the more calls I take, the more chance I have at closing people, right?
100%.
That's literally it. It is a numbers game at the end of the day. If you're available, if you actually book more calls, you have more chance at closing. But like, that should be the focus, just having more calls.
How many people are in Dubai right now who think they can't become closers because it's in U.S. time zone?
I know, hella, probably so many, right?
Many.
And I'm literally taking calls from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. every single day. And obviously now we're in America right now, which is beautiful, right? But it's just doing the unscalable things to scale.
That's the word.
Unscalable things to scale.
Yeah.
100%. Do you guys want to add anything useful bits of wisdom? Because this is the thing, like, these guys are both high ticket closers. Imagine, like, for example, you're running a coaching business. Let's say you're making $50K a month, which is great, right? You're processing $50,000 a month, right, through your own payment processor. These guys are directly handling over 6 figures,
Multiple 6 figures.
$250,000 roughly a month, right, in terms of volume, directly through each of these guys, right? So what bits, I know we talked about effort, I know we talked about confidence and stuff like that. Anything like unique insights, something that you guys want to leave the audience with that these people wouldn't be able to find, or maybe would be able to find after several years of experience, which you guys have both went through?
That's a great question. Let me actually think about it for a second. Like, what is like a wisdom I've learned after taking thousands of sales calls? I'll say, like, you just have to fucking send it. Like a lot of people are just like shy. Like they're just like hesitant to go and get what they want. But like,
Pitch the offer, in a sense.
Just pitch it and then like get the answer that you want. Like, there's been so many times where on a call I've asked for the sale like 5 times, and the 5th time I ask for the sale, I get it. So as long as the prospect's not hanging up on you, just keep pitching. Yeah. That's what I would say. Because it's not over till the call's done.
That's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
So like one thing I learned is like in a sales call, you'll feel uncomfortable, right? And the biggest thing I've learned is be comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Because if you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, you're gonna just like take all their bullshit and you're just gonna like take all their surface level answers. You're just gonna like you're not gonna be able to actually close a deal if you're uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Does that make sense? So just fucking like don't be afraid to like. Just fucking like send it, bro. Like legit, just fucking like ram it, bro. Like ram that shit down their throat. As long as they're not hanging up on you. As long as they're on the call, you have a chance at closing that deal.
It's very like, it's very morally good as well. If your product is genuinely good, like it's your duty to make sure the right people get it. Like it's like a moral duty that you have if your product is good. Now that's where you should evaluate yourself if your product is good. Because if your product's good, you should have no problem pushing anyone on. Like I have zero hesitation pushing my prospects to take action because I genuinely know if they use the product, they'll see results.
Yeah. I think a better descriptor would be potentially being disconnected from the outcome in a sense, right? And that allows you to then be a little bit more brazen and ask the questions that may be uncomfortable if, because a lot of my clients as well, they'll come across an objection and then they'll feel like an internal guilt. They're like, oh, I don't want to push them.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I don't want to, they want to talk to their wife. Okay, fine, I'll let them go talk to their wife because internally I feel bad and I believe them.
Yeah.
Right? But if you have that pure level of conviction in your product, number one, and number two, you're disconnected from the outcome, right? Like Jordan Belfort says this, the best time to close a deal is just after you close the deal.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? You're in that state, you're like, I don't need this person.
Yes.
Why does this person need me?
Yep.
That's the question.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'll add on to that. Every sales call that I take, right, I go in with the exact same mindset. I don't care if they close or not. I actually do not care. Every call I take is just, I go on the call and I just take it. Like I detach myself completely from the outcome, and that's just such a big problem for a lot of salespeople. Like they get on calls and they're all fucking like, they look at their application, they're like, oh, this leads good, this leads bad, and I'm like, no. And then even after the call, if you don't close it, you're like, oh shit, you know, you get all angry. I don't care if I don't close the deal. I know that I can close every single closable deal, and if they don't close, they were never going to close. That's the confidence that I have in what I do and what I say. So
I agree.
100%. And then last final question, just before we wrap up, is I see a lot of salespeople or a lot of people pitching even their own solutions. They'll fall into a slump, right? They'll maybe have 10 calls, and all of those 10 calls will be, you know, shit. They'll get in their head, be like, oh, you know, maybe it's my product. They'll maybe overthink it, right? So how do you guys potentially get yourself out of a slump if you're in a slump? How does that SOP look like for you guys?
I think Samim will probably agree with this too. We're both like big advocates of just working hard. Like you can outwork a slump, in my opinion. Like if you're in a slump, the worst thing you can do is stop and overthink, well, oh, I'm just shit, and just get that mental thought process going of, oh, I suck, this is not for me, whatever. If you just keep going and you get that first deal after that slump, now you're out of the slump. And I think more than anything, no one knows you're in a slump besides yourself. Your prospect doesn't know, your old prospect doesn't know, your new prospect doesn't know, no one knows besides you. So I honestly just ignore that inner bitch in my head and just say, fuck it, you know, stay hard.
I'll basically say to that, like, if I'm in a slump, I wouldn't even think I'm in a slump. Like I wouldn't, that word doesn't exist in my head. Yep. Like just because I don't close 5 deals in a row doesn't mean I'm in a slump. You know, it is what it is. Like that's just a game. Sales. It's up and down, bro. It's like, and if you're not ready for that, like you're not built for the game. That's what I'll say, right? And like I said, he's right in the fact that like a lot of people when they're in a slump, they're like trying to take a break. Dude, you can just work harder. Like the harder you work, like it's such a linear path. All you have to do is just work harder, take more calls, and you'll get the outcome that you want. As long as your product's obviously good as well. That's what I'll say.
100%. Yeah, like at the end of the day, what is the average like closing rate across every salesman industry-wide? What is it, like 10% roughly?
Yeah.
Right?
10 to 30%. Yeah.
10 to 30%. So let's just take the low one. Let's say it's 10%. Let's say you took 10 calls, 0 of them were closes. Obviously, over time, it's going to regress to the mean, right?
If you take 100 calls, you'll close 10.
Exactly, right? So it's up to you to obviously get those calls, close those calls, right? And keep your head obviously, you know, locked in and make sure that you're not, you know, wavering from the path in a sense. So 100%. Do you guys have anything else to add, or do you guys want to wrap it up here?
I think we should be good. I think one last piece of advice I'll give to anyone who wants to get better at sales. The best thing you can do for yourself is not more training. It's not more anything besides just believing in yourself. And however you feel like you believe in yourself more, whether it's by training more, by going to the gym, by going on dates, improving your life, improving your friendships, relationship, whatever makes you more confident in your life and yourself, it's going to instantly rub off on your sales calls. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. It's just pure conviction in yourself, your product, and your ability. Yeah, I agree. Cool. All right. Thanks for sitting down, boys. And you guys, I'll link their Instagram below if you guys want to go check out their IGs and go book a call with these guys if you're looking to get into into ecom. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys got value from this.